7 of Jesse's sons got to the oil first. 7 people got to the opportunity first. 7 people got to the open door first. 7 people looked at the building first. 7 people surveyed the land first. But when God has something that by his grace and providence he has assigned to you, it does not matter who gets there first. He will hold it in place until you get there. But Saul loved David as a musician. The Bible says he loved him greatly and made him his armor bearer. So even though there was abusiveness and narcissism on one end, there was still some affirmation that he was getting on the other end. And so his affirmation inhibited him from being objective when it comes to assessing Saul. So he kept tolerating abuse because he needed love. This man, this David, comes, and the Bible says that God says to the prophet, yeah, this is the one right here. So interesting to me. Because 7 of Jesse's sons got to the oil first. 7 people got to the opportunity first. 7 people got to the open door first. 7 people looked at the building first. 7 people surveyed the land first. But when God has something that by his grace and providence he has assigned to you, it does not matter who gets there first. He will hold it in place until you get there. So they can bid first, they can make an offer first, they can apply first, but when God has something for you, he will reserve it specifically for you. So David gets anointed in the presence of his brothers, and the Bible says, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David powerfully from that day forward. And Samuel leaves and goes to Ramah, and through a series of events, you know the story, through a series of events, David ends up working as a musician and as an armor bearer in the palace, but he didn't abandon his responsibilities in the pasture. So even though God elevated him outside his father's house, he never stopped faithfully serving the father's house. I'm going to say that one more time. Even though God elevated him outside the father's house, he never stopped faithfully serving the father's house. And he would go back from time to time and still tend to the sheep in the pasture. And one day when he was doing so, the Bible says that his father instructs him to take something to his brothers, and he takes them to the brothers, and then he begins to hear this Philistine who is insulting Israel. And this is what I call unique agitation, right? Unique agitation. Because if purpose is a problem if purpose is an answer to a problem, then God will give you a unique agitation for the problems you've been created to solve. Which means 2 of us can walk in a room, see the same problem, it bother you and not bother me. Because God will give you an agitation for what you've been assigned to address. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, now, so everybody's hearing Goliath's insults, and they're doing nothing by it. They're doing nothing about it. As soon as David hear the insults, he's like, y'all don't hear that? No, he said, who is this? Everybody's looking at his height and his strength and his stature. David says, who's this uncircumcised Philistine that dares to defy the armies of the living God? See, everybody's looking at what Goliath does have. David's looking at what he doesn't have, because circumcision was a symbol of the covenant. He's saying he's got a sword and a spear, but he doesn't have the covenant. He's got height, but he doesn't have a covenant. He's got to fight by himself. I don't have to fight by myself because I've got a God that made a covenant to fight with me. And he says, I'm done. he says, He says, who's going to fight this guy? So, and he asked this question. I really don't have time to unpack this, but we need to unpack this more because it's worth unpacking. What shall be done for the man? That's what he asked, right? He said, hey, what will be done for the man that defeat this giant? My motives are pure, but I still need to know. I'm doing it for the glory of God, but I just kind of need to. If I'm putting myself out here like this. They said, you get the king's daughter in marriage. He's like, yeah. They said, no taxes. He said, I'm in. No taxes? I'm in. Sign me up. So here's the quandary. I'm wrapping up here. To me, it is one of David's most courageous acts. I see courage in the palace before I see the courage on the field. Because once Saul gets word that David's willing to fight, Saul, who attempts to talk him out of it initially, acquiesces and says, if you're going to do this, at least do this with the best equipment. This is battle tested. This is the best available to engage in warfare. So David now is receiving an offer from a king, first of all, that he knows is not stable. So he's not sure what kind of reaction he's going to get. So he initially puts on Saul's armor and tries to walk around in them. I love this. Because you do not have to dishonor the armor just because you have a slingshot. And this is something I have to watch, like in my tradition. Because emerging leaders who may be called to slingshots can dishonor armor that was used to win battles to get them where they were. Yeah, my tradition, that old church is like, yeah, that old church is what prayed to give you the rights that you have. That old church is the church that was marginalized and will still step in church on Sunday and lift up their hands in the So sometimes when you've been called to slingshot, you can disrespect. Don't disrespect the armor. Because exception is not better than. It's different from. Whatever your way is, it's not better. It's just different. So David literally had to courageously articulate, I can't wear this. I know 9 out of 10 people could wear this, but I can't. I know this is the way this is typically done. I can't do it that way. And I know I'm talking to some people in this room who have felt or feel that. Oh, I felt it in pastoral ministry. All of the conferences, all of the methodology. Let me fit within this box. Let me do it this way because this is the way we do it. But in my heart, I knew this wasn't my unique design. And my slingshot might not be much to you, but it's what God gave me. And it will work if you worked it. And we've got buildings and we've got property and I've got locations in New Jersey. I simulcast so I believe in all of that. But for me, I said, man, my calling, my heart, when I hear Spurgeon, my heart leaps. When I hear Moody, my heart leaps. When I hear Wesley, my heart leaps. My calling is not just to build buildings that people will sit in, but to release words they will live by. Spurgeon's words are blessing you from the grave. And I said, that way might not be as popular now, but it's my slingshot. And David used his slingshot and knocked his giant down. And I came to encourage you today and to let you know your slingshot is enough. It is exactly what you need for the Goliath that you've been born to take down. So may God give you the confidence. May God give you the courage. May God give you the conviction that you need to believe that you and your slingshot are enough.